What news, Helen?
It's Oscar, Bram. He left Reading jail and then he was...
Well, how is that news? It happened over a week ago, didn't it?
You're very vague about a man who used to be such a friend.
A disgraced and broken man who I suspect will be seen no more in our circle.
But won't Florence miss him as well?
Best keep my wife out of this, please. Florence has hardly seen Oscar for... Well, not since he last dined with us. 3 years ago, I think.
He has disappeared. He left the jail and then was spotted once in town, but not a soul has seen him since.
There's no need for alarm. He's gone to Paris. I shouldn't wonder. Gone to lick his wounds in that hotel he likes so much on the, what's it called, the Rue des Beaux-Arts.
Oh, how unsympathetic of you.
Ellen, please, I am not unsympathetic.
Well, you'd have to be, given how the poor man suffered, not to feel for him.
That's where you're wrong. There's many a kind, sensitive soul here in this great metropolis of ours who think nothing of Oscar O'Flaherty-Wild other than contempt and loathing. It's true, Ellen, whatever you or I may think.
But why, Bram? Don't they understand?
Exactly. They don't understand, not for a minute. They can't understand why a man with a happy family life, a man they cherished for his clever, witty plays, can throw it all away on an empty young fool like Queensberry.
Oh, why love, Bram, love?
Ellen, I fear it may not even have been that. A man with Oscar's mercurial, restless genius, with almost an addiction to admiration, may even have taken risks for something less.
Well, passion then. We've both of us known passion in our time, I'm sure.
Ellen, is this really a subject for a great lady of the theatre to be banding around with her business manager?
Oh, don't be such a prude, Mr. Stoker. I know. You have your respectable marriage. Florence was wise to choose you over Oscar. But, Bram, you've always seemed to me to have some understanding of other people's need for, what shall we call it, solace.
Enough of this now, please, I beg you. I've asked the Guv'nor to speak to me for private words, and he'll be here very shortly. I don't want him to know we've been talking about Oscar. It would unsettle him.
But why, Bram? When Henry reminisces with me, he always says what firm friends you all were in the old days. You and Oscar in Dublin at Trinity. And then when the two of you gravitated to London, didn't you stay up half the night with Henry, discussing your theories about the nature of beauty and art?
Well, yes, it's true. Henry was once an admirer of Oscar as well. But I think, of us all, Henry is the most straight-laced, the most respectable. And I know, yes, he doesn't see his Florence anymore, not nowadays, but I also know that he feels, as the greatest actor of his age, he needs to maintain a certain gravitas, and that means no whiff of a scandal. He must be, as Shakespeare's wife, above suspicion.
What you really mean, my dear, is now that he has his knighthood. Dizzy heights. The first and only actor ever to be knighted. He has to behave himself. You know, Bram, I'm surprised he's still talking to me.
I don't know what you mean.
Of course you do, you old hypocrite. I have no qualms whatsoever about my chosen modus vivendi, but there are many in this great metropolis of ours, as you called it, who find my husbands, gentlemen admirers, and children rather a heady brew.
All that matters, my dear Ellen, is that your audiences adore you. You know you're the doyenne of the London stage. Why, nobody in Europe except... Except, perhaps, Bernhardt.
Yes, of course. La divine Sarah. Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well. How was you? You know, at least the Guv'nor gives me enough of Shakespeare's women so that I don't have to play the men.
Are you discussing Bernhardt's Hamlet? I thought Sarah was excellent.
For a woman pretending to be a man, that is.
Sir Henry, I remember you once saying that you didn't think Hamlet was your favourite leading man.
Perhaps not. Ellen and I had success enough with Ophelia and the Prince, didn't we?
Yes.
But there are so many to choose from. I could, perhaps, say Shylock. That surprises you. Our audiences don't see him as the dignified man that I did. He hath disgraced me, and hindered me of $500,000. Laughed at my losses, scorned my nation. But then there is Richard III, or Lear, or the Thane of Glamis. I know that the Scottish play is one of Ellen's fondest memories.
The raven himself is horse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, ye spirits, that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the access to remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shake my fell purpose. Come to my women's breasts, and take my milk for gall, you murder.
Wonderful, my dear, wonderful. It still tears me to the marrow. But now let us hear the thing. Now, oh, the one-half world, nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtain sleep. Now, witchcraft celebrates poor Hecate's offerings. The alarm by his sentinel, the wolf moves like a
No, Henry, that isn't the best bit. Why not? Is this the dagger which I see before me? Or tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow.
Yes, but not only the famous lines are important, are they? I mean, we have just conjured a bloody world, replete with evil creatures of the night. Here, Shakespeare is creating images of unnaturalness. Nightmares.
Beg pardon both, but you are due on stage soon, and I was promised a private word with the Governor.
Yes, Bram. Yes, of course, of course. Of course. But not yet, not yet. It's imperative I speak to our stage manager immediately.
He doesn't want to speak to me.
Oh, don't look so disappointed, Bram. He will be back.
Unlike your
I'm
dear
sure.
Oscar, I'm afraid.
Oh, don't say that. When will we see him again, do you think? You know, the not knowing upsets me terribly. For so long, Oscar was such a touchstone in our lives. What would Oscar think? What would Oscar say? Why, I remember so vividly when I was playing Lady Macbeth and Singer Sargent did that wonderful portrait of me. Do you remember?
How could I forget?
I went to his Chelsea studio already in costume.
You always did love the dressing up.
Don't be cruel. I was working that day, so it did save time. Well, anyway, Oscar was passing and he said, "The street that on a wet and dreary morning has vouchsafed the vision of Lady Macbeth in full regalia, magnificently seated in a four-wheeler, can no longer be as other streets. It must always be full of wonderful possibilities."
You've learned that by heart, haven't you?
Oh, Bram Stoker, how dare you? You are belittling one of the finest moments of my life. To have bowled over a man of Wilde's exquisite aesthetic standards and his sensitivity.
And I say, if you're confronted in the streets by a woman wearing an emerald green dress, covered in the shells of 1,000 unfortunate beetles and sporting enormous orange plaits running down her bosom, you'd have to be half mad, half dead not to notice.
But you can't forget about Oscar. Oh, really? You and Henry have known him for far too long. Where is your sense of loyalty, Bram? I mean, you've been friends for decades. You can't just obliterate him from your memory.
I think that common sense and self-preservation dictate that perhaps one ought to try. You and I still love him.
Yes.
But he's now an outcast, an object of scorn. It's natural enough for me to try and forget because, well, I now have a creative life of my own with an exciting future, perhaps a future of great success and public acknowledgement. I wanted to tell you, Ellen, before I spoke to the governor.
You want to tell him that Dracula is out today?
Well, yes, I suppose he knows that already, but...
Well, half of London knows already, Bram. And we all knew because you rushed the play script of the book out so quickly last week for the run-through.
Yes, that was a ham-fisted business, wasn't it? Still, it did the trick.
Trick?
Well, surely you understand, Ellen. Ensuring through the Lord Chamberlain's office that no unscrupulous playwright can benefit from my work. I believe the Count to be sufficiently magnetic as to tempt theatrical pirates.
Even though, my dear Bram, as a friend I'm sure you wouldn't mind me saying, but it is rather outré.
Outré? How can you say outré, Ellen?
I saw it performed.
Don't put it there. I want to know the that.
Damn it, Ellen, he'll be back soon. You've been chattering so long I haven't had time to think about what I'm going to say to him.
But Bram, on the day of your book being published, you can't ask him to put on Dracula as a proper production.
No, well, I don't know.
Before you know the public reaction or even how well it sells.
Well, you said yourself you saw the run-through. What did you think?
Well, I mustn't fib, I didn't watch it all. I'm sorry, Bram, but it is rather long. I think, though, I did get the gist of it. Bram, my dear, I'm sure you'll have great success with your book, but you have to admit it is rather odd.
It is a little unusual, I admit. In fact, I'd say, and be proud to say, that it's highly original.
A man who is immortal, yet can only exist by drinking the blood of others. A madman who eats spies and flies. Virginal young ladies who leave their windows open at night when they've been particularly told not to.
Yes, I admit it's a little, what was your word, outré, but it chimes with the spirit of the times. Think of Oscar's Dorian Gray.
Oscar again?
Well, here is an evil young man about town with a portrait in the
Oh
attic.
dear, I do know the story.
Which absorbs all his beastliness and sin, sparing him the effects of aging. Now, isn't that a little odd? Weird, even.
Look at this programme. I'm sure there's another.
Well, yes, the Gothic style is quite the thing. And now that I think of it, there is, of course, Jekyll and Hyde. But your Dracula seems to go much further.
How so? In what way? Don't worry, I won't be offended.
Well, the Count is meant to be sinister, fatal even, yet at the same time elegant and attractive to respectable young women. I find that combination rather strange.
Yes, but think of evil King Richard successfully wooing Lady Anne when she knows he's just murdered her husband. Why, the governor always loved that role.
With all due respect, my dear, that is Shakespeare, the greatest dramatist who ever lived. I can understand if the governor finds Bram Stoker rather a different proposition.
Yes, I can appreciate that, Ellen. And in fact, before you came here, I was here thinking very hard, wondering whether I should speak to the governor at all. I know how fiercely proud of his art he is, and how he never takes roles he believes are beneath the distinguished tradition you and he have constructed over the years.
Oh, Bram, he takes on roles because they suit him, show him in the best possible light. That is the key to understanding Henry. For example, he dotes on that production of The Bells. I think it's an appalling farrago.
I was about to give up on my ambitions altogether when I started reading these playbills and posters.
Oh, yes.
Reviews of your time in America, and I realized that although the governor pays me very well, in return I feel I have given him something worth far more, above and beyond my business skills. Loyalty.
Why, yes, my dear, of course you have. And I wish you all the best, but to ask him to play Dracula?
Well, I feel he would make a magnificent Count. He's tall, not plump like some older actors, and he's famous For his mesmerizing gaze, why, he would cast a spell over the stage as he entered. He always does.
Well then, ask him, Bram. Why are you agonising over this?
Because I'm so nervous. Ellen, what if he should say no? How would I feel if he should refuse me?
But screw your courage to the sticking place, my dear.
Ellen, I didn't tell you just now how tremendous you look. Is that one of ours for a production? Henry VIII? Catherine of Aragon?
Why, yes, it could be. I was just trying it on with my dresser just to show Bram, actually.
Yes, it suits your figure perfectly.
Oh, Henry, how gallant you are. You are a dear. Sometimes.
Age cannot wither her.
Nor custom stale.
Steady, boys. I have always wondered, though, why we have never put on the Egyptian play. Henry, could you not see yourself taking on the role of Antony?
No, it wasn't that.
Really? Or was it that you just couldn't see me playing Cleopatra?
What are these doing here, Bram? Ancient history now, aren't they? I hope you haven't asked for our little tete-a-tete just so that we can have a cosy chat about past glory. I mean, today, as every day, I am a busy man, and I'm on stage in 56 minutes, as is Madam here. Actually, isn't it time for you to get into costume, Ellen?
Oh, we have ages yet, Henry. I can be out of this in a trice when my dresser gets here.
Ellen?
Oh, very well. I know when I've been dismissed.
She is wonderful. But like all women, she can be a bore sometimes. Want to be the continual centre of attention, don't they?
But for a great actress, it is understandable, isn't it? Being so used to the applause of an audience.
Ah, but you forget, Bram, I know Ellen not just as my leading lady, but as a friend as well. She's the same in private.
Whereas all great male actors are, of course, selfless individuals whose egos never come into play.
Bram, do not seek to poke sticks in my cage. You know very well I see the exercise of my talent as a sacred duty to maintain the highest standards that British theatre has, as we have here at the Lyceum. Takes sacrifice, complete devotion of self to the art.
Art for art's sake, you would say.
Ah, one of Oscar's old credos. How is he, by the way?
How would I know?
Bram, do not think you can deceive me so easily. Surely you're interested in his whereabouts, aren't you?
All right. He's in Dieppe, en route to Paris, I believe. If I get a moment, I might be able to slip.
And you don't want Florence to know? I mean, how would you explain your absence?
No, it isn't that, really. It's just that I find myself extraordinarily busy at the moment.
Oh, the book! Yes, out today, isn't it? Oh. How do you think it'll sell?
So you know then?
Know what?
Well, I wanted to speak to you about it. That's why I asked to see you in private.
But briefly, I hope. I mean, I'm very hard pressed with the new production and all that sort of thing.
What I need to say does require a little time, Guv'nor, a little thought. Please.
Very well. But I need to be backstage in 5 minutes. There's problems with the scenery and whatever. Well, come on, man, spit it out.
Well, this may seem a little arrogant, but I feel I have to say that I have high hopes for my new book, Dracula.
Don't all writers, fresh from the heady thrill of publication?
Well, if by that you mean that I am merely optimistic, as many others are, then I feel I need to contradict you.
Oh.
Yes, I am convinced that in this book I have a tremendous success on my hands. It has a powerful and original story with an extremely strong central character.
Well, Jonathan Harker, the doctor who finds himself imprisoned in a vampire's castle without even realising it till it's too late.
The Count, I mean Dracula himself. I would like to hear what you think about him.
Why him? He's not the protagonist, is he? I mean, we see everything through Harker's eyes. It's his tale.
With respect, Governor, the book is called Dracula, not Harker.
Yes, but generally, with the protagonist, we see everything from their point of view. We're supposed to find some form of sympathy with their situation. I find it extremely difficult to find any sympathy for a villainous, undead thing. Am I supposed to?
Well, an interesting question, and my answer is, since you asked, that yes, I would like the reader to feel something for the Count.
But why?
Well, because here is a man, an aristocrat from an ancient and noble family with a beautiful castle and lands, unable to enjoy these things naturally. He lives as an eternal exile from the real world, able only to enjoy it through infecting others with his terrible condition.
So he is more sinned against than sinning. Now I find that hard to swallow, Stoker.
So you're not attracted to the tragic figure of the Count?
Tragic, certainly not. Why should I be?
Well, if my book is a success, as I believe it deserves to be, then I feel I might do as our good friend Conan Doyle has done and write a polished play script from my book. You know that we've already put on a very rough run-through here at the Lyceum.
You just mentioned Conan Doyle. Yes, he did come to me some while back with his outlandish hero, this ridiculous infallible detective.
Sherlock Holmes. The rest of the world doesn't think Holmes ridiculous, Governor. The stories are selling very well, I believe.
Yes, but that's just merely a testament to the way that people are these days. It's ridiculous.
Henry, you ingrate! Why, only 2 years ago you let Conan Doyle, you are happy enough to let him fill our coffers with Waterloo. I mean, the hordes of people who came to see that.
But that's because they came to see me play Corporal Brewster. I mean, it's not very often you get to see a great actor play a 96-year-old.
That's as may be, Governor, but I feel as though Doyle should deserve some credit in the matter. It was his play.
Yes, wonderful stuff. Well done, good chap. But I can't stay any longer. Lots of things to do before cutting up. I've got to have a word with Ellen about one of her cues. Keeps coming in.
But I haven't finished yet, Henry.
Would you ask Miss Terry to come and see me, please?
You haven't given me an answer. Just a few more moments, please. It's only fair after all our time together, all my loyal service. You know what it is I want to ask you. Stop hiding from it.
If I am hiding from it, dear Bram, it is because I am seeking to avoid you pain.
Why? In what way? Tell me.
You want to ask me to play this Count Dracula for you, yes?
Yes, what could be more natural?
I cannot accept your invitation, Bram. I cannot prostitute my art.
Prostitute?
Yes, prostitute! For the sake of mere friendship. I, who have played all the great Shakespearean leads, cannot appear in some tawdry rubbish, dreamt up by the popular market for the appetite of lurid
You call this
sensationalism.
rubbish? Then what do you call that creaking, melodramatic potboiler you like so much? The Bells.
I will not stay here a moment longer to be abused by one of my own staff.
No. You will not leave me, Sir Henry. I will leave you. Perhaps for rather longer than you would like.
Oh, what was all that about? Bram nearly knocked me over.
You know very well, Ellen. And I expect you overheard part of it, and I suspect you put him up to it in the first place.
Up to it? Oh, Henry, for a great tragedian, you use some very vulgar expressions.
Yes, thank you, Ellen. Stop prevaricating. It's less than an hour to curtain up, and I appear to be threatened with abandonment by my business manager. And all because I won't flatter his schoolboyish literary efforts.
Oh, you callous brute, Henry Irving.
I, callous. Enlighten me.
Well, if you weren't such an egotistical, selfish monster, that would be obvious.
How dare you? I've not been spoken to like that in a long and illustrious theatrical career.
No, not since the last time I told you the truth. When Bram offered you the role of Dracula, it was like him asking you you to be the godfather to his child. You may find the story fantastical,
Grotesque.
but he sees it as being in the great Gothic tradition.
Oh, and this from the woman who bores me to stupor by insisting on reading to me her pet Norwegian
Ibsen,
modern playwright
Henry,
for hours,
Ibsen.
days and days.
It was 4 hours.
Oh, only 4
Don't
hours. I
exaggerate.
didn't realise I was so lucky.
Stop trying to divert me. You say, why do I think you are callous? And I say, because for Bram, this work, with its weird yet spectacular creation, Dracula, is precious. He pays you a great compliment in offering you the role rather than another actor. And what do? You just dismiss it out of hand as beneath your dignity, as childish rubbish.
And so it is.
Oh,
If he'd wanted me to play the part and written it for me, why not dedicate it to me? Oh, no. There's some written here as Homie Beg. That's our old friend Hall Caine, I suppose. And his Manx grandmother's pet nickname for him. If he had written it for me, why not dedicate it to me?
ah, I see. That's it, is it? Dear God, what an ego you have, my dear. But wait. Do I detect the faintest spark of interest, Henry?
No.
Oh, my dear. Wouldn't you play him beautifully? A tall, slim, elegant Dracula. Grey-haired, but handsome, with a piercing, transfixing gaze. Audiences have always loved your piercing gaze, Henry.
Don't forget the teeth. Piercing teeth are required here, I believe. What if we did stage it here at the Lyceum? We'd require special lighting. Original music.
Yes.
A great Gothic pile of a castle. Costumes.
Oh, but Henry, wait. This elegant cloak seems to me to be the very emblem of the Count.
And you, Ellen, would play against me as Lucy. However, I feel some rather difficult problems in casting you in that role.
Really, Henry, you can't see me playing an innocent virgin of 19 summers? Don't forget, I played Juliet when I was in my 30s and Cordelia when I was 45.
It was the virginal bits I was having problems with. But how about if we essayed the central moment of terror? The most, to my mind, sensational aspect, when Dracula actually bites his victim. An image I find so repugnant, so vulgar, that if only we could get an audience to accept that, the whole thing might be possible.
Why, yes. Henry, why don't you come in from over there, and I can be asleep here, and then you can come over to me.
You need to lie down. Not on the floor, Ellen. Have you no sense of dignity? Lean on the table. Here. Move all those papers. All we need is something for you to enable you to shrink away from me as I approach your bare neck.
If I lean on my hand.
That's it.
Yes?
That's it, my dear. I will walk away from you a little. So that I can approach you silently. Ah, Lucy. I wake you with an immortal kiss.
Oh, no, Henry, no, that's enough.
Good heavens, Helen, what's the matter with you? Are you acting?
Oh, Henry, that was just horrible.
Well, if you knew who it was, I mean, surely you
Yes, but
weren't
it was
frightened.
shocking, indecent almost.
Well, yes, I must admit there is a form of sexual charge to it.
Well, yes.
The Count is not for me.
I saw what you did. It was brilliant. Ellen, no wonder you were frightened. Guv'nor, you were the Count. It was just as I imagined him. That magnificent, focused gaze as you menaced your victim. Will you not reconsider?
But you saw what happened. The whole idea of an evil older man, and your story says much older, to bite a young girl, to make her his amorous slave in a ghastly netherworld is hardly the sort of thing you want for a respectable audience.
Well, I admit there is strong erotic content, but have we not staged Romeo and Juliet, where sexual passion is to the fore?
I think that with Shakespeare, even at his hottest, is rather more sedate than this.
That's not all there is to my tale. It is also a story of suspense. Can Jonathan and Van Helsing save Lucy?
No, enough, my dear friend, enough. Now, although I feel that your story cannot be adapted for the stage, it may yet, I believe, find some different arena.
Meaning what?
Why? Cinematography, my dear friend. This new folly that your French friends get so excited about.
That's just for tiny fragments of action, not real drama.
No! Do not make me waste another second on this nonsense. I should have been backstage 5 minutes ago. Ellen! Why are you wearing that damn dress? Get it off as I told you. You're not playing Catherine of Aragon tonight.
No, I'm not, but I see you're playing Henry VIII, you old tyrant! Dear, I seem to have lost my temper. How vulgar of me.
How can be so cruel, so unfeeling?
Oh, Bram, my dear, stop it. This is not the reaction of a sensible grown man. It really isn't the end of the world. I'm sure you'll have great success with your book. But the Count is not for Irving. Just accept that.
Why won't he do it? He'd be perfect.
Oh, Bram, listen. Henry is older than both of us. Perhaps he feels he can't take risks like he used to. He's always run the Lyceum lavishly.
The best theatre in London.
Maybe. But you, as business manager, know more than any of us the risks. You see all of those outgoings. The elaborate scenery, superb costumes, music specially arranged, not to forget the big acting company. These things don't come cheaply, do they?
Nothing but the best, as the theatre's motto goes. And the takings. Thank God the takings have never failed us. I mean, night after night, year after year, full houses. Why, the Guv'nor played 150 nights non-stop with the bells.
That farrago.
Yeah. I no wonder he loves it so much. The two of you together have been a phenomenon.
But Bram, for how much longer?
What do you mean?
Well, we both know that Henry doesn't run the Lyceum for personal profit.
Of course, there are far greater rewards than mere money. Of course, yes. Even a writer of outre Gothic novels can see that. I do want acknowledgement for my fiction. That would be truly gratifying, but I've never told anyone this before. But I would give my soul for the kind of adulation that you and Irving get night after night, year after year. I mean, a mere writer, if he's lucky, watching his sales grow, can never experience the kind of personal satisfaction, the exquisite thrill of instant success that you two must have.
Oh, Bram, of course. It's pleasant to know that my audience appreciates me.
Adores.
Well, yes, that I am loved. But you're forgetting. Henry and myself are merely mayflies. An actor retires, an actor dies, and what then? People forget. Who now talks of Sarah Siddons or Peg Woffington?
But they remember Garrick, say, or Nell Gwyn.
You're getting confused. Whether Nellie ever acted or merely sold oranges. They were not the skills with which she entertained good King Charles.
Whatever you say, Ellen, I'm sure the two of you, as our finest Shakespearean players, will never simply vanish from the public's memory.
Who knows, my dear? Who knows indeed? Oh, Bram, dear, that's the thing with a book. It's solid. It doesn't just disappear when its author dies. Your name may well outlast both mine and Henry's. And just suppose the silly, reckless man decided to put your show on. Can you imagine? He'd spend a small fortune on a Transylvanian castle, on flying harnesses for the Count, and Lord knows what else. I shudder to think.
So I suppose my pathetic hole-in-corner run-through will have to do for now. Pretty discouraging, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know. I thought the young Harry Irving played the Count menacingly.
Yes, but he was the wrong Irving.
Bram, you're like a dog with a bone. Just give it up. Please, my dear, I beg of you, just give it up.
No, Ellen, I cannot give it up. I know the script is nothing like what it should be, but all it needs is for him to take it seriously, and then it could be a masterpiece. I must see him play this. He's the greatest actor of our times. Why, even Gladstone admires him. Imagine that, to be the hero to a great statesman.
You really do worship him, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I do, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Think on it, Ellen. He has raised the British stage from a mere disreputable entertainment to something that is respected, civilized, uplifting even.
And may I ask you, Bram, do you find him attractive? I know he's wearing his grey hairs now, and he's not quite the man of his youth, but he is still a rather tall, striking figure.
What a strange question. Why do you ask me that?
Nothing. It's just, well, in the theatre I find myself surrounded by men I find attractive every day, and I sometimes wonder, in an idle moment, if my judgment of beauty is a good one, if men find the same men as attractive as I do.
Oscar was considered quite beautiful, but look where that got him.
Oh yes, we've come full circle to dear Oscar. And who knows, we might never see him again.
Ellen, are you still here?
Henry, Bram is rather upset. I think you too.
Oh, yes, well, never mind about that. I've just discovered that Beer Bomb Tree is producing Julius Caesar next year.
Oh, Lord.
There goes my ambition to play that part before I retire. Well, aren't you going to say something? Caesar would have been good box office. I could have played the great general. Harry could have played Mark Antony. It's a great loss to the Lyceum.
Yes, well, it's no loss for me. There are no good parts for women, are there?
Well, Ellen, what an attitude. I'm shocked. I've never known you to be so self-centered.
Oh, but you see, Henry, I have been taking lessons from a master. And besides, you're far too old for Caesar.
Too old? I'm not yet 60. How old was Caesar when they killed him?
I believe he was 50. Ah, yes, 55.
So I'm not too old, madam.
All right, then you're far too tall and not bald enough.
But Harry would have made a wonderful Mark Antony. I could see him now in a Roman breastplate. It's such a loss to us both.
I have no time for someone who bemoans the loss of roles for himself, or indeed his son, when the same man willfully ignores a sensational part he is offered on a plate. I wonder, Bram, if Beer Tree with his wonderful new theatre would be interested in staging your...
Ellen, how dare you? I run this theatre, not my employees, however exalted. I will ask you to hold your tongue, madam.
I have no business being Catherine of Aragon when I should be Catherine Saint-Jean. Is that the time my poor dresser will be running wild? I will see you, dear Bram, at supper.
Or perhaps not. I'll not eat the food of a man who I'm just about to leave.
What do you mean? You're not coming to supper? Oh, I see. You're not talking to me. Why did you drag all these bits and pieces out of the scrapbook, Bram? Hmm? Our Americana. All these tours. The excitement of New York. The quaintness of their provincial cities. Mr. Stoker, please, have the decency to reply to me. I am not used to being ignored by my own staff.
No, you're not, are you? You're used to being the centre of attention at all times.
Yes. Yes, I am, and why not? I am the governor. And I understand. And I own and I love everything in this wonderful, wonderful place.
Where you don't own me, Sir Henry, and I intend to start proving that immediately. I shall not be attending your little soiree after the show tonight.
Oh, Bram, don't you think that threat is rather petty?
You're on in 15 minutes. Don't you need to ready yourself? Prepare?
Half an hour. I'm not on in the first scenes. No, I intend to make this brief time so that I can talk to you. I shall use this space as my green room. It's no worse than many others I've been in.
I know you, Henry Irving. I know you suffer from nerves. Don't you need to key yourself up for your performance?
No, not particularly. Though I do have to dress as Napoleon, which is rather time-consuming.
Then what are you doing here?
I cannot go on. Cannot go on tonight, Bram! Unless I know that you and I are still friends. That you will stay with the company that you have served so faithfully for all these years.
Governor, you are impossible. You know my desires, my needs.
Your play.
Yes, and yet, as ever, your needs come first. As if your peace of mind is more important than my fulfillment as an artist. For pity's sake, Henry, you know how much this means to me. Will you please
Do not ask me again. My answer remains the same. It is no.
Why not?
Roles such as Sherlock Holmes and your Dracula are silly, vulgar, and undignified. And dignity is very important to me, Bram.
Well, now I see. I never realised, but yes, it's your overblown sense of dignity which caused you to leave poor Florence that night, wasn't it?
Don't you bring my wife into this.
Well, why not? I mean, you're the one asking me to change my mind. You're the one begging me to stay with the company. Why don't you take me into your confidence? I think I deserve it. That famous incident in your carriage outside Hyde Park.
Tittle tattle.
When Florence asked you when you were going to give up this ridiculous acting and take a proper job.
She said, are you going to go on making a fool of yourself for the rest of your life?
But what happened next? You left the carriage and walked away, leaving her pregnant, and you never spoke to her again. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Henry Irving and his famous dignity.
What else could I do? What man can let his wife speak to him like that and have any sense of dignity left in him? You don't understand. I have given my life to the stage.
And I haven't. I, who have kept this theatre solvent for 20 years by dint of my good business brain. It is I who lets you sustain your quixotic illusion of the Lyceum as some kind of demi-paradise floating in its own universe, fueled only by the purse of an ever-grateful audience who must surely desert you one day.
Bram, please, let's not quarrel like this. What would Oscar say? I mean, we were such friends.
I have
and he
no
would be
idea.
so
Stop
upset.
trying to distract me. Oh, but wait a moment. Yes, I think the man who could write Dorian Gray would be most appreciative of my count, would applaud the news of you playing him, would be eager to see it even.
Just please give me your answer so that an old trooper can go on stage with a happy heart and a calm mind.
Very well. I will give you your answer. But on one condition.
What?
You will show me again what you did just now. You will show me the Count as you just played him without it.
Stoker, you are quite unhinged. Very well. If I must. I've undertaken your bizarre charade. That could be your answer.
Henry, you have broken my heart.
Your answer, please, or I will miss my cue.
Thank you for showing me what I will never see again. Thank you 1,000 times.
Bram, your answer, please.
Will I stay with you? Yes, I will.
Then it is till death us do part, old friend.
Yes. Till death us do part, Henry. Till death.